Presbyterian College is much like many of the congregations in our denomination, predominantly white, heavily steeped in tradition, and far more comfortable with service than the public engagement of faith. Neville Hall is the iconic building that has stood watch over this campus for 111 years. It is in the midst of a massive renovation, and the campaign is called Neville Renewed, revitalizing the heart of Presbyterian College. Last spring, racial unrest bubbled up in our campus. Two white students vandalized a Black History poster, physically intimidated an African-American staff member, and then took to Yik Yak to continue their campaign. The campus's discomfort with handling this matter, combined with the educational philosophy employed in the CE program, led to a public witness for the valuing of Black lives. The story that Joaquin and Jacob will talk about may not seem much to other campuses, but it was a significant step in renewing and revitalizing a different kind of heart at Presbyterian College.
September 20th, 2016, Keith Lamont Scott was fatally shot and killed in Charlotte, North Carolina, the city I worked the previous summer. That night, as I sat attempting to write a paper, my thoughts kept running to the city I fell in love with. To attempt to stay up to date, I turned on CNN and found my city in chaos due to rioters and the reaction to systemic racism that took place earlier that afternoon. The next day was like a haze. I floated through the day not knowing why I was still at school. I should be in Charlotte with my youth and with the church that I served. Instead, I stayed at school, and now looking back at it, I think God kept me at school for a reason. After conversation with Becky, we both began to realize our race and social ethic class should meet the next period. And although she would not be there because her dad was in the hospital, Becky wanted me to lead the conversation, to share my thoughts, my experiences, and to help me and others process. This was a daunting task. This is how we began to approach this act of public witness in support of the Black Lives Matter movement that would later take place. Before, the Christian education department was not taken very seriously, but we knew as a department, we can make a difference. And after our act, people began to realize the weight that we held around campus. We knew if we united and called on others, we could truly do something special and to help enlighten our school about topics such as race. We as a department had conversations about how God calls us to live our faith in the public square. And although not everyone in our department participated in the action, we had honest discussion about why we supported this movement and wanted to take this action. That day, we truly were able to. After our action, it wasn't perfect. I lost some friends, and people began to look at me differently, and that hurt. I found myself answering questions of how can I be white and support the Black Lives Matter movement? But I knew I, as a privileged individual, needed to add my voice to this cause for all persons of colors who impacted my life and faith. Quickly, I found students and professors who supported me. I was no longer Jacob, some dumb frat boy who was maybe a Christian education major. I'm now Jacob, a Christian education major who fights to make a difference. My challenge for what's next for the church is this. As a whole, the church holds a lot of weight in our individual communities. If there's an issue that you and your congregation are passionate about, speak out, hold honest conversation, and live into God's call to be on the side of the oppressed.
As a black man on a predominantly white campus, there didn't really seem to be a place for me. Faculty and administration didn't take any initiative to value who I was or to get to know me. This made me feel alone and keep to myself, not really expressing who I really was in my first year. White students were afraid of me. Black students didn't think I was black enough because of the way I spoke, because I like to read and talk about biblical things, study philosophy, and know what was going on in the world. Taking Christian education classes really helped me turn my situation around. The community within the Christian education program helped me build relationships and confidence. They provided me with more leadership opportunities and in addition helped me find my voice. While at PC, I had not witnessed any kind of demonstrations on campus, but I knew it was possible because of the marches that I attended with my dad, being that he's a man of Omega. On that day, I wasn't thinking about making a big deal. We were just trying to do what was right, what our faith required. We didn't realize the impact it would have and what big a deal it was until Dr. Davis said she received an email from the president. Jacob and I were also being sought out by other members of administration. The long-term effect that it had on campus was that it turned the knob. Students and faculty seemed more willing to have conversations. It also felt like the administration was paying more attention to the manners of diversity. We were surprised at how many people showed up from all across the silos of campus. We hoped for about 10 people, but 15 to 20 people would have been outstanding. We ended up with 64 people showing up for our demonstration and 46 for the critical conversation that followed after this act of public witness.
What my students didn't know is that my own ministry was informed by these driving questions. Why is it so difficult to bridge the divide between personal piety and public engagement? How is faith formed so that the decisions we make at work and at home and in the public square consistent with the faith that we profess in congregations? And finally, what role does Christian education play in shaping the Christian identity for public engagement? While these questions first emerged for me in my work in child advocacy, they've propelled my doctoral studies and now inform my teaching ministry, where we've put in place a curriculum that engenders public faith. It's what I call teaching between worlds. We intentionally create community, offer classes, provide experiences beyond the classroom, and foster occasions for discussing and thinking critically about the intersection of faith and life. We do this with three things in mind: teaching for understanding, teaching for discernment, and teaching for engagement. Yes, there are different classes offered: theopedagogies and liberation, education for the common good, race, class, and justice, but more importantly, it is a program that is infused with all three of these models. We'd really like for you, if you're interested, to help us explore the possibility of translating this across other campuses and in congregations. If you want to participate in a public pilot project on this, then find me at the conference or email me there, and we'd love to have you join this endeavor. Thank you so much.